Good morning and welcome to StudyIQ. I am Prashant Pavani. I hope you all are doing good, my dear friends. Today is Saturday, so we don't have that many articles to go through, but we have a very important article to go through, and this one is called Reading Between the Rankings. Reading Between the Rankings is about this Times Higher Education ranking that is out. This ranking basically, it's an index that will give us, or it gives us this rank of various different universities around the world. And when we talk about universities, when we talk about this Times Higher Education ranking, then there are many things. If we stop for a while, if we think for 30 seconds or 1 minute, then we will find so many things that we have discussed in this context in the past. So let's quickly recall. As far as I know, it was President Pranab Mukherjee. He betted for this thing that we need to see our universities, our higher education institutions in top 100 ranking. We are a bit far, as far as this global top 100 universities or higher education institutions are concerned. There are various reasons behind it. Now, I'm sure many of you are either in college or you have just finished your higher education. So you'd be knowing about recent trends, the practical side of the things that are there, or you can say what we call it grassroots reality. You'd be much more familiar with this thing. What are the things that you think are still missing? I would request you guys to pass a couple of lines, right? 1 or 2 lines, or maybe max 4 lines. What are the things that are missing? What are the things that you have experienced? What do you understand, right? What is your take on this thing? If we want to improve our ranking, then what are the things that we need to do? So that's one side. This is a small exercise, and I believe all of you will take active part in this exercise, and it will be very beneficial as well, because education is a very important topic of your syllabus as far as our nation building is concerned. Then as well, education plays a very, in fact, if I can tell you, then in a nutshell, or in essence, education is the only tool, right, that we have in our hand through which we can change all these issues that we find in our country or in our society, right? So President Pranab Mukherjee was, I think, the first one. I cannot remember if anyone else apart from him has said about at this post, has said anything about higher education and this global ranking. Now, as far as this ranking is concerned, this sort of university rankings, or this Times Higher Education ranking, or any other ranking, right? One thing that we have to understand, that it's broadly indicative in nature, right? It's not a system that is we can call flawless, or it's purely perfect. No, it has got a touch of imperfectness as well, but that's fine, that's acceptable, because here we are not just, if in any research, if you come out with tables, then you are going to have some sort of merits and demerits. So it's fine, we have to cope up with. But broadly indicative means it is indicating us that there are a few things. If we focus on those few things, and these are the things, right, because of which these top universities are top. So top rankers, we find 2 things in top rankers or top universities or higher education. When I say universities or higher education or colleges, do take it as higher education, right? So it becomes a bit easier for me as well, right? So top rankers, they have 2 things in common all across the board. The first thing is a range of disciplines. That means they have this multiple options, that is available. If you visit a famous university or top ranking university, you will find so many courses of arts and commerce and science and sports and so many other things. So you have variety. The other thing is they are recognized, they have been recognized as centers of knowledge production. Hold this line for time being. We are going to talk about this thing. Very important line. If you read between the rankings, and if you read between the lines here, there is a deep meaning behind it. That's going to be our last, you can say, point of discussion. Now, recently, right, first of all, let me take you through this. Our universities or higher education institutions, right? IIS, Indian Institute of Science, is on top of the list as far as Indian universities or higher education institutions are concerned, but still at in this times higher at global level, we are far behind. IIT Indore doing very well, JSS University in Mysuru, all right, and Amrita University in Coimbatore, Czech. It's doing, all these four are the best performers from our country. But again, at global level, we are far behind. Now, recently there was this conference on academic leadership on education for resurgence. This was held in Delhi, and at that point of time, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that by 2022, Government of India will provide 1 lakh crore rupees for infrastructure development of higher education. 1 lakh crore rupee is not a small amount. That's a very big amount, and it's a very important decision that Government of India has taken, right? We need infrastructure. As we move ahead, I'm going to talk about some things, right, that are not associated with infrastructure, that are associated with how we can improve quality. But let me tell you, infrastructure is, I'm not saying that we are anti-infrastructure. We need proper, good infrastructure, right? Without it, it's not possible to reach at our peak. It's very important that you have a proper infrastructure. First thing. Second thing is, I would like to add here that recently, this thing was in news, institution of eminence. Many articles were written on this thing, and if you are following this video series for a bit of time, then you know that we have discussed about this thing in detail. We have talked about positive things and negative things. So under this this tag, institutions of eminence, what Government of India is trying to achieve, or to Government of India is trying to give autonomy. Autonomy, that means independence, complete independence to some 5 or 6 selected institutions that are part of this IOE, and they can design their own course, they can have their own syllabus, they can have their own timing, and so everything, right? Type of staffs you want and things like that. So full freedom will be given to this IOEs. So that is again a very important thing, right? Freedom, autonomy. Because what we have seen when we were discussing this Higher Education Commission, HECI, Higher Education Commission of India, at that point of time, or remember when we were talking about UGC, University Grants Commission. Now the name itself, UGC, University Grants. So this UGC was formed to give out money to all these various different universities, but the person or an institution that is providing you money, right, will become important, isn't it, in our life? Important in the sense that that person can have a little bit of dominance over us. I'm just being very practical here. Just take example of our parents, right? When we are not earning for ourselves, then when we are kids particularly, we get money and everything is provided by our parents. So they have this sort of dominance. I'm just giving you example. It's totally fine. There is nothing wrong with it as far as Indian culture is concerned. And then you can take your own examples on this sort of that money coming from a particular institution. So UGC started dictating things, and UGC started controlling everything. So that was an era, or so far we have seen this era of you can say caging our higher education institutions, right? This was going on for a very, and now what we are trying to achieve is we are trying to with the help of HECI, we are trying to give more autonomy. But then you have some flaws with HECI, that money will come from Human Resource Development Ministry, and money will come from Human Resource Development Ministry, and decisions or this rules and regulations will be coming from HECI. So this can create some sort of troubles as well. But still, right, this is just a background thing that I'm discussing with you guys here, so that for new students, it's you can build a good base, and for regular students, it's going to be a bit of a revision for what we have already discussed earlier on or in the past. Now, Prime Minister also talked about in this conference. He also said that this institution or institutes of management bill, 2017. Right here, this bill is talking about autonomy. So far we have seen that money or infrastructure and autonomy, these are the two most important things. Right, but one thing that we have to ask is that while freeing of universities from external control and increasing their resource base is for the better, and it's good thing as well, but the question is whether these moves can by themselves raise higher education in India to the desirable global level. This is the big question that we are asking. And as far as ground reality is concerned, we know that Indian universities are lagging in their research output. Research is a thing based on which a university is judged. If you see countries like USA, if you see countries like Japan, right, what they have done, like say for example, USA is a generally speaking resourceful country, right? It has good amount of various different types of natural resources. Japan, now you have natural resources in Africa as well, you have good natural resources in India as well, but there is a huge difference between India and USA, right? And the reason is they have paid huge amount of, they have invested heavily in research and development. They strongly, that it's not that they believe in it, they know this is a thing that will work. They can cut down expenses of president of USA, but they will never cut down expenses, or not expenses, but I would rather use the word investment that is done in R&D. Same thing goes with Japan as well. Japan was a very not in good shape after World War II. South Korea was not in good shape after World War II. But say these countries, right, they are what they are because of R&D. And this is one of the reasons why they are producing new products, and their products are dominating. We even today around the world, right? You go anywhere in the world and you will find, when you hear this name called Toyota, people will, the quality is a word that will pop up in your mind. When you hear about some American products, observe American products, right? You find Coca-Cola everywhere. Apart from, there are some 3 countries, 2 I can remember. One is North Korea, the other one is I think Libya, and one is definitely Iraq. Beg your pardon, Iran, North Korea, and there is one more country. I think it's in Africa. Not sure exactly, but there are only 3 countries in the world where you don't get Coca-Cola. There are places where you don't find water, but you find Coca-Cola. So it's not just about Coca-Cola. It's about this background thing, that is working. Universities, they are doing research, they are coming out with theories, and they are coming out with new ideas, and then you have these companies who are taking your invention out of laboratories and they are injecting it in the market. And that's what innovation is all about, right? Taking inventions out of this lab walls and introducing them in the market. So R&D is that much important, and something that we miss in our country here. Dissemination of knowledge in our country or this higher education institutions is not considered up to the mark, and this is one of the reasons why we find so many students prefer to visit foreign countries for higher education. We spend some $2 billion in fees, so money is not a problem, right? When we are paying $2 billion is been paid by our students in foreign universities. That means we have a big demand here. People have money as well, right? And as far as research, these resources are concerned, we are not in short when it comes to resources. Nowadays, university teachers are paid well. They have all this available material and best international books, and everything is available. But what we are still lacking is this autonomy of teachers, right? Autonomy from UGC, MHRD, and the most important autonomy is internal autonomy. Internal autonomy you find only when you have this, when you have this unique culture, and culture is the most important thing. This is the thing that I was talking about, right? That there are a few top rankers, or most of the top rankers, they have been recognized, or they are recognized as centers of knowledge production because they have this unique culture. I can give you everything. I can give you money, infrastructure, everything. But if you don't have that culture of excellence, right? If you are not in a place where excellence is expected from you, Yeah, your failures will be accepted, but expectation is of excellence. If you are in this culture, if we can create this culture, then we too can see ourselves in the top position, right? So culture is the most important thing, and culture is a thing that cannot be given. You have to nurture, you have to create it. So it's up to management of university. It's totally up to them. The people who are running a university, they have to decide what is good for the students and what is best, in fact not good but what is best for students. And if they have to rope in these industries and other people and experts, and if all this, if they are allowed to do experiments and things like that, then I believe that we too can excel. Not now, but it will take a couple of years, but at least this seeds of culture, this positive culture will start producing some sort of, it will start metamorphosizing. Moving on to another item, but before that, let me tell you that defense exam pendrive and tablet courses are available on our website. To find out more about it, do check out StudyIQ.com. If you have any question or queries, you will find chat support as well as you will find numbers as well on our numbers regarding the call center numbers, where you can give us a call just in case if you have any question or queries. You will find it on website. You can download the PDF of today's lecture from my FB page and Twitter handle. Now the rest of this articles that we have, this one is about rupee spins downwards. Now before we talk about this one, let me take you through this one. This one is about Brazil. It's a pure Brazilian political editorial, what's going on in Brazil and things like that. So if you are interested, then yes, you can go ahead with it. A quick glance, it's fine, right? But as far as your exam is concerned, you can totally let it go. As the rupee spins downward now, I believe that most of the students are regular. We find few 5-10 students, new students on regular basis. So the thing is, rupee going down, rupee going up, dollar rupee seesaw. We have talked about this thing many a times, but very quickly let me tell you that when the value of rupee is going down, it is going to hurt imports, right? Why or how? Let me give you a small example. Just to say that today value of $1 is equal to 100 rupees, right? Say for example, and tomorrow it becomes 200 rupees. Just imagine. So if tomorrow for buying $1 you have to purchase, or not purchase, beg your pardon, if you want to purchase one item that is worth $1 in international market, today you can get it in 100 rupees, tomorrow you have to pay 200. So simple as that. When value of rupee goes down in terms of dollar, it hurts our import business, and imports are very important because there are so many things. Now we have started this journey of producing things for various different countries. So we have to, like Toyota cars and other things that we are producing in our country, so many components are coming from various different parts of the world. So if you are going to bleed when things are coming from outside, then this is going to hurt your production, because your final production cost will go up, and then you will lose this competitive advantage in international market, isn't it? So this is a thing that we have to understand, that this is the reason why it is bad. For exporters, it's a good thing. Now, government of India has said that external factors outside its control, like oil prices going up, now we are importing oil and we are giving out dollars, so it's going to become expensive. Simple as that, because oil is imported. US Federal Reserve's interest rate policy. Interest rate hike by RBI, say for example, if interest rates are raised or hiked, then loans will become expensive. If loans are expensive, then you will not opt for going ahead. You will not get that much motivation, to buy a house or car or any other thing. Same thing happens with businessmen as well, or a business person or a businesswoman, that if they are, thinking to get a loan, they will think that at present the loan is too expensive and we won't make any money at this interest rate. So rather than borrowing money, it's better to do nothing and do things that are going on, rather stick with day-to-day routine things rather than thinking big. So this will create a negative sentiment in the market. There are so many other reasons as well. I'm just giving you some big examples here. So something similar happens when Federal Reserve, that is this Federal Bank or Central Bank of USA, when interest rate goes up, people will not get easy loans, and if people are not getting easy loans, then they will not invest in Indian market, because this is a trend that we find, that when you have this tag of fastest growing major economy in the world, then people will invest. Investment will come from various different, because that economy is big, at the same time it is growing at a very good rate. So the return that you will get is going to be good as well. It's going to be handsome. But if loans are expensive compared to what you are making, then people would rather prefer something else. So that's a problem that is created by this Federal Reserve. But the thing is, all these things are, of course, out of our control. But there are many things, in fact, that we can do in our country. And the thing is, rather than chasing all the time this hot money, that is money that is coming or arriving in our country for a short period of time, it would be better for us if we stick with the long-term capital inflow of money. In terms of long-term, money will come into our country and it will stay here for a very long period of time, generally speaking, for infrastructure project, for factories and other things. So foreign direct investment basically is more healthy than this short-term money that we are generally seeking. So for time being, it may look a good cushion, this hot money, but when it goes out, it hurts. It hurts, and it makes us bleed badly. Now, there are a few items on which the Government of India has imposed some import duties as well, or import tariffs has been raised too. Now, this is again going to be bad for our production, because of supply chain is interconnected. The other thing is, for many items, items that we find in this list, it indicates that government has not paid that much attention to details, because washing machine about 10 kilo are below 10 kilo they are going to see no change, but about 10 kilo washing machines they are going to find high import tariffs. So this is going to create a sort of negative sentiment during this upcoming season, or festival season is just around the corner. So it's going to be bad for that. The other thing is, when government was having good money, good revenue was coming in, because around 2014, 2015, one barrel of crude was costing us somewhere around 45 to 50. And at that point of time, government got huge amount of money as revenue, but somewhere down the line, management was not up to the mark, and because of this thing, we are facing this situation. So that's what this item is trying to, this news item or this article, that's what it is trying to tell us. By extension, this one is an editorial that we find, and this editorial is easy to understand, because it is about Register of Citizens, National Register, NRC. Supreme Court is looking after this NRC, and it's going on in Assam. This draft was out, and there were people, they were a bit in panic. They were thinking that we'll be kicked out, and how we are going to prove. Then government came out with this clarification that don't worry about it, we are not going to kick you out. You'll be given complete chance to prove. If your name is not on the final draft, then don't worry about it. You'll be given every chance and things like that. Now, there are groups of activists from Tripura. They have sought a process to identify illegal migrants and deport them from the state of Tripura. Now, in Tripura, back in 1993, an accord was signed by Government of India, and it was signed between all Tripura tribal force and Government of India. And it was decided that all those people from Bangladesh were migrated to Tripura after March 25, 1971. And if they are not having proper documents and valid documents, then they should be sent back. They should be deported. Now, yesterday we were talking about this Windrush, remember, of UK. So if we are going to send someone who is here since 71, right? So we are talking about what, nearly 40 years, and if you find their kids are here, then that's going to create a sort of humanitarian crisis for many people. I'm not saying that we should allow illegal immigrants. See, we have limited resources. We cannot allow everyone to come in. If someone wants to come in, then that person or that group of people, they have to come through, or they have to have this proper permission. Without permission, you cannot come in, isn't it? Simple as that. So that's a thing. So it's a very tricky situation for government, for judiciary, for bureaucrats, everyone. It's not this, that easy. And this is a very delicate situation here. You don't want to hurt anyone's sentiments. If you think about deporting, then that's going to create problems between India and Bangladesh as well. So it's a thing that we have to wait and watch for. We don't have proper answers for this thing. We have to wait for what Supreme Court has to say on this thing. We have to wait for government's stand on this thing. But by the time we are waiting, we can go through latest news items. Now it's a very sad thing. You can see this lack of professionalism here. A plane, right, flies 4 hours with the ruptured or broken belly. See here, you can see this wall. It was basically this plane, whilst it was taking off, it hit this wall, and it was in the sky, but it had got a little bit of damage, and still it was in air. So after 4 hours, it was called back. So that's a matter of shame. Then this Me Too India campaign that is going on. Government of India has decided that an expert committee is going to look into it. We are going to have some judges and lawyers and other good people who can contribute. They are going to be part of this, who have experience, and of course people who are good, they will be selected for this thing. So expert committee is going to look after this thing. Then you have a question asked by a judge, Supreme Court judge, that do you want a country of vegetarians? So there was a PIL. Yesterday we were talking about this, some unnecessary PILs, and something similar we find. This sort of items are wasting time of our courts. Collegium recommends CJs for 5 high courts. From this you can understand that it is the Collegium that will decide who is going to be judge of high court, who is transferring of high court judges and making someone CJ, that is Chief Justice of that particular state. India wins election to UNHRC, that is United Nations Human Rights Council. You need some 97 votes. We got good voting, good backing. And then we have Prime Minister has said that Prime Minister is going to visit Japan. We talked about Japan yesterday. Swaraj flags global terror threat during her this visit to Tajikistan's Shanghai Cooperation Organization meeting, ministerial meeting. And uniform stamp duty for financial instruments. So you have some instruments where parliament can decide, and some instrument where state government has this upper hand. So state government is happy with this uniform duty, so it's going to ease this business environment in our country. This one, you can have a quick glance over here. You can see that when it comes to e-waste, still we are lagging here. We are not recycling our e-waste. Stubble burning is going to be a big problem. And financial big news is that growth has slowed down. So lower growth and higher inflation is creating troubles. And here you have some vocabs. And yesterday I asked you a question about this ports. So Slave Coast, Gold Coast, Ivory Coast, and you can add one more, Grain Coast. All these coasts you find here, and they were famous for slave trade back in this era from 1650 to 1860. Today's map-based quiz is this one. I'll give you a small hint. This is a country in Asia. These are your answers, sorry, and these are not your questions, of course. These are your answers, and these are your fresh questions. That's everything, and I'll leave you with this picture here of one horned rhinoceros, and Kaziranga National Park is open for visitors. So enjoy. God bless you all. I'll see you tomorrow. Jai Hind.